Hello everyone, Neve here, and today we are going to go through my practice, the magical month of February. All right, so out first, what I have here is the book that I read in February, and I did actually complete this book. So yeah, this is Bridget by Courtney Weaver, and History, Mystery, and Magic of the Celtic Goddess. And it was good. I think, this isn't a book review or anything, but I think my final score, or whatever, what I ranked it on Goodreads, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And I think I stand by that, and don't ask me to elaborate on that, but there we go. So 4 out of 5 stars, pretty good. Yeah, so that was the book that I read. Okay, and here are my journals. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my nightly tarot journal, and I'm just going to go week by week and show what decks I used on my nightly readings. All right, so, oh, this is upside down. Or, yeah, there we go. There we go. I'm going to take the pen off so it's out of the way while I go through this. So, I didn't put the markers where they were supposed to go, like the ribbons. So this was my Ganesh month. This was January. And here is February. All right. So every morning, what I did is I pulled a card from the Seed and Sickle, and I'll go ahead and pull this out right now. And I only read the, because the Seed and Sickle is a 2-book system, right? Sorry, I just had a child knock on my door. But yeah, so this is a 2-book system. And basically each card has 2 meanings, and it's got a dawn meaning and a dusk meaning. And I decided to, since I'm pulling it every morning, I just went with the dawn meaning. And the dawn meanings are, they're perfect for starting a new project, building new relationships, or focusing on revitalizing yourself. Yeah, so, and I have to say that I don't like the 2 different book system thing. It's very obnoxious. The cards themselves are absolutely lovely. They're really, really beautiful. But I find I'm going to have to do some sort of deep dive or something of this deck to kind of consolidate meanings, because I really don't like that the meanings are separated into different books, because it makes it confusing and needlessly complicated. Sorry if you hear the dog barking. She's probably going to run through here real soon, because I can hear her in the living room barking at people outside. But this deck, it's really beautiful, and I do like the meanings on them, but sometimes the meanings are so wildly different between the 2 books that it gets very, very confusing to me, and I don't like it. I kind of want to kind of forego these books and go through and kind of find my own meanings for these cards. Yeah, so anyway, this is the deck that I chose to use in the mornings for Bridget, and I gotta say, I don't think this was a Bridget deck. And I sort of figured that out probably around midway through the month, that I was not really liking this deck for her. But I stuck with it. I stuck with it to the end. And each of the days that I have this little sticker in here is a day that I didn't pull a card. And I was starting to get forgetful about my card pulling. In fact, I almost forgot today. I'm filming on the 29th right now, so the last day of February, and I almost forgot to pull this one today. So yeah, anyway, and I was going to use a different deck for my morning pulls, but I kind of forgot about it, and I think I was going to use the Illustrated Herbiary, I think. Now that I'm saying it, I'm not sure if it was a different deck. But anyway, I was going to use a different deck, and I kind of forgot about it, and I ended up using this deck. Initially, I wanted to use the Nocturna Oracle, but that one I didn't end up getting that till near the end of the month. So anyway, so let's go to the weekly pages. All right, we'll start right here. Okay, so this first week it was partially in in January, but this first week I used the Squid Cake Tarot. Let me pull this out real quick. and of course, this is the bag that I made for it. I really like it. It's really cute. The dog's barking again. She might run through here. Or she keeps like threatening to come through here. Okay, I just had to pause it because she did start running through here. So anyway, so here is the Squid Cake Tarot. This was, I do really like this deck, but I do need to do my Marseille study, which I've decided not to do this year. I don't think. I may still do it this year, but as of right now, I don't have concrete plans of when I want to do my Marseille study, but this is a fun little deck. It's pocket sized. It's adorable. I love the little box it comes in. I love the bag that I made for it. It's very cute, and the inside fabric is strawberries. Very cute. Yes, this is an adorable little deck. There's not much else to say about it. This week I did 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 7 readings. And then on these pages, or these days, I just used the Deco Rush tape to fill in those days. All right, so that is week 1. Okay, so week 2, I did the Moon Crystal Tarot. And it looks like this is the only day that I actually put a sticker of the deck that I used. I haven't yet created these ones. Oh, this one got a little bunched up right there. All right, there we go. Yeah, so this is the only week, I think, that I actually put the title of the deck that I used. I did do that in the previous weeks, though I'm not sure that I showed that on camera. These may not have been complete. This one doesn't have it on there. But yeah, on most of them, I printed off the name of the deck or decks that I was using right here. But so far for this month, I only have Moon Crystal out. So here we go. So this is the Sailor Moon themed tarot deck. It is the Moon Crystal Tarot. I'm getting it out of its bag here. And then it's in a little box. It's a little tuck box that has been ripped, but that's okay. I always, like, the last card always gets stuck in there, but anyway, so this is obviously a Sailor Moon themed deck. One of my go-tos, one of my faves. I really like this, and I think the reason I picked this one and the one right after it for the next week is because this is the month that has Valentine's Day in it. Of course, I've dedicated this month to the goddess Brige, and she's not necessarily any sort of like love goddess or anything like that. But yeah, so but I chose this one and the next deck kind of because these are decks that I like to use for love readings, so I just went ahead and used them for my nightly readers. Yeah, very cute deck. I've talked about it a lot on this channel. I won't go into it too much more, but this week I did not do very much reading. I only did 3 out of the 7 days, and this week I did a Deco Rush, and then the other ones I used like this Galaxy washi tape to fill in the days that I didn't do. So yeah, I only did 3 days this week of my nightly readings. Yeah, so it is what it is. Okay, so week 3. I don't have this labeled, but I used the Crystal Visions Tarot, and spoiler alert, this is a bag that I made for it. I have not had in fact, I'm going to pull it to the side. I've shown this deck before, but I didn't have a bag for it, and I will be having a video out very soon going over new bags that I've made. I have made a few bags recently, as some of them are on decks that I'm using that I used this month of February, but I'm not sure if I'm going to show them on camera. I guess I kind of showed the Crystal Visions one a little bit, but I'm having a video coming out soon going over all the new bags that I've made and still have to make until that video comes out. But one of them was for the Crystal Visions, and this is a deck I have had for ages. This is one of my 2012 decks. That's what I call them, because I have a bunch of decks that came out in the year 2012, and I may not have gotten those decks exactly in 2012. It may have been like a year after, or maybe even 2 years after, but they're all like copyright date 2012, so I call them my 2012 decks. And this is one of them. I have had this deck for ages. I love it. It's definitely one of those decks that I like to use for love type readings. And of course, this week was Valentine's Day, which coincidentally enough, I don't actually celebrate. I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. My husband and I are just not like to us. It's just another day. We don't really celebrate it. You think I would, because I actually love gift-giving holidays, like, a lot. Probably because I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, so I really enjoy the gift-giving holidays. But for some reason, my husband and I just, neither one of us are really into Valentine's Day. So, yeah, so that was this week. Let me see what I did. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So I got a little bit better this week. There's no week this month that I did all 7 days. Not like January, where I had that steampunk, yeah, this one, or the cyberpunk tarot, the Eldritch Overload tarot. I did every day for that that week, and I was really proud of myself. And I hope to continue that. I hope to have another week where I've got all of them, but it did not happen this month. All right, so let me put these away. Okay, so week 4, I did the Barkana Tarot. And I think I chose this one. Kind of in line with Bridget again. Bridget is associated with a lot of different animals. Maybe a little bit of dog. I would say she's mostly associated with cows. But she is generally considered, I don't want to say an animal goddess or a goddess of animals or something like that, because Irish deities aren't exactly like god of blank, but she does seem to reside well in that realm of animals. So I did want to use a few animal decks, and I used this deck, the Barkana Tarot, a little earlier oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. A little earlier in the month, and I'll go over that. I did it for one of the rituals, or no, it was one of the moon readings, and I did really enjoy that reading. However, that reading turned out to be quite private. So when I go over that reading in my other journal, I will definitely blur that reading out. But and because of that, I didn't share pictures of that reading on social media. I post a lot of my readings on Instagram, and I've tried to make Threads my spiritual go-to, but I very frequently don't post anything there. I post readings and things like that when I remember to do that for Threads, but I do, like, I try to keep on Instagram, I try to keep tarot stuff to Tuesdays, so Tarot Tuesdays. And lately, the only thing that I've been posting on Tarot Tuesdays are my moon readings. It's the Tuesday following whatever moon reading I did. However, because the reading for this particular moon reading, whichever one I use this for, turned out to be private, I ended up not posting that on social media, but I posted a different reading instead. So anyway, yeah, I adore this deck. It's very cute. Yeah, I really like that, and I thought it fit well with Bridget, and it would also work pretty well with Lou, I think. But yeah, so I did, looks like 4 days out of 7 on this one. And I filled with the puppy washi tape on the days that I didn't do. All right, next week. Okay, so the last week is actually, I'm still on it. So I did miss one day already. This is going to be tonight, so I haven't posted it yet. So I'll go over this one in March, because tomorrow's March. So yeah, so I'll go over this one in March. But I used the Tarot of the Great Outdoors, which is a brand new deck that I got, and I have that review up on my channel. And fair warning, I get a little spicy in that episode or that video, yeah, because there's issues that I have with this deck, and I'm not too happy in that video. But anyways, so that was my weekly tarot readings, or my daily tarot readings, but that was the weekly pages. And I will show for the month of March, I will be dedicated to the god Angus, the Irish god Angus. So I'm actually also going to be focusing on Ogham in March. It's dedicated to the Irish god Angus, but my study for March will be Ogham. So, all right, let's pull out the next journal. Okay, here we go. This is my main spiritual journal. Sorry about the glare. It's okay. Yeah, anyway, I want to eventually decorate this inner cover here. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but this is a highly decorated book, and I've shown it before. So of course, the first month was with Ganesha, and here we are with Breege. And on this page, with the other one, I put my morning readings in the monthly section. This page, however, in this book, is kind of just recording the spiritual things that I do. And I have these books to indicate the days that I read that Bridget book. And the candle represents a ritual. And in fact, I just did one this morning because I did the Bridget closing ritual. So I'm going to grab one of these stickers and we'll go ahead and, oops, there's the Angus month. And I will place that right here. So I did the Bridget closing ritual this morning. All right, there's no pictures of that in here though, but anyway, so I also record the moons and what sign they're in, and was putting what page in this book I have each of these rituals or tarot readings. That one is on page 17, but it looks like I got off that train a little bit. I did that here, but I'll have to go through and do that with this one. But anyway, so that is the month, and of course, next one is Angus. All right, let me move to the readings. All right, so we ended with the Ganesha reading here. That was the Ganesha closing. And then we have the welcoming reading here with Breege. And for this one, I started off using the seed and sickle, which I'm not going to pull out again. I think what I did for the first one and the last one, because I pulled out 2 oracle cards for the first and last, and I think I used the dawn reading for this one and the dusk one for this one, but honestly I cannot remember. But that's okay, and I think that's another reason why this deck kind of frustrates me a little bit. It just gets a little confusing, but of course the deck that I used for the opening, for the welcoming reading, the ribbon on this one always gets stuck. This is of course the Anima Mundi Tarot. And I love this deck. This is nearly my favorite deck. It's not quite there, but it's definitely my favorite cardstock, though. So let me try to move this to the side here. All right, so this deck is absolutely stunning. I love it. Love shuffling this deck so much. Yeah, I think I really connect to this deck. And it is an animal deck, and it's the deck that I often associate with the goddess Bridget. I've in the past, in the previous year, I used this deck very frequently for full moon readings, which last year all the full moon readings were dedicated to Bridget, whereas this year I have each month dedicated to a different deity. So each of the 4 moon readings that I do in a month is for that specific deity. But last year, all the full moons were for Breege, and very often I use this deck. And this is a deck that feels very late winter to me, very beginning of February, so it makes sense. It's just kind of the coloring of it, the mood of this deck really makes me think of that time of the year. Okay, so the next reading that I did was, okay, so this is the 3rd quarter moon in Scorpio. In editing, I'm going to try to keep this straight so I can edit this easily, but I'm going to blur out my reading here. So I won't go into this in too much detail, but I think what I will pull out is the oracle deck that I decided to use for each of the moon months, or moon readings for February. Now, I was going to use the Nocturna Oracle, but again, like I said, I didn't end up getting that deck until later in the month, which is fine. I'm kind of taking that as a sign that it wasn't meant to be. But early on in this, like in this reading, I really got the sense that Breege wanted me to focus on a lot of my study stuff and my Japanese studies. So I actually felt very called to use my Shinwa Oracle, even though this is a Japanese deck, so obviously it has nothing to do with Breege. I don't know, like there was just a sort of calling or feeling that in the beginning of the month, my opening reading with Breege, that she really wanted me to focus on my Japanese stuff. So I decided to use this deck for the first reading, and I wasn't sure if I was going to use it for each reading, but I did end up using this deck for each of the moon readings. So all 4 of the moon readings were with the Shinwa Oracle, and I loved it. I thought it was great. This is definitely a deck I really want to do a full deep dive of course, and it will have a dual purpose of learning the deck, learning Japanese mythology, along with learning Japanese. So it's a very multi-use sort of thing. And this is not the only Japanese deck I have. I have a few more. I think I have like 4 total. And I have a few more on my wish list that I'd love to get, like, you know, ASAP. But I really need to study these decks, and particularly the Japanese. And I thought each of the readings that I had with this deck were lovely. So I just wanted to mention that there, but I did use the Shinwa Oracle with every moon reading this month. Okay, so the next reading was actually my Imbolc reading. So this was my Imbolc ritual, and I followed a ritual from the Irish Pagan School. I was actually involved in the live version of this, but for the previous year, I was there for the live presentation of this ritual, so I very much participated in the conversation and things like that afterward. But they record it for people who bought the course to go over later. So I rewatched it basically and followed along with the ritual again for Imbolc. And so for this, I went with something different. So for the Oracle, I used the Illustrated Bestiary. And I'm going to pull this out, and I really like this. In fact, I'm going to use the Illustrated Bestiary as my morning pull for Angus for the next month. And I'll probably use the Herbiary or the Crystallary for the monthly pulls. That's my plan. Or vice versa. I might use the crystal ones for the morning. I don't know exactly which which way I'm going to do it, but that's there we go. So here is the bestiary. I don't really like the boxes so much for these ones, and I don't really like the book. So I may eventually just keep the boxes separate and just keep the deck itself in the bag. But anyway, so this is the bestiary, and now the Cosmovisions. Love this bag I made for it. Of course, I made this one way too big because I also made this one to fit the box, but it was one of those, ridiculously huge Liminal 11 boxes that are, such a pain. But anyway, so there we go. So let me do the whole thing with the Oracle card in the center. This whole dealio with the 2 piles of the deck on either side. All right, good enough. We'll go with that. All right, hopefully this is centered a little bit here. All right, so so these are the decks that I used for my Imbolc reading, and I kind of loved it. The the Cosmovisions, or Cosmic Slumber, for crying out loud. There's too many decks that have very similar names. Crystal Visions, Cosmovisions, Cosmic Slumber. Cosmic Slumber Tarot. Anyway, so the Cosmic Slumber Tarot is actually one of my favorite decks. And it was if you haven't seen this video, then spoiler alert, it was my top deck of 2023. And Ooh, I'm so tempted to make it my number one this month. I do have a thing in the back of my book here to go over my favorite decks of the month. Here I list all the decks that I used. In blue are the Oracle decks I use, and in black are the tarot decks. And that is because I do a little tarot tournament. So 2024 tarot tournament, the month of January, the Guardian Tarot won. And so the month of February, I'm going to pick one here. And I'm basically skipping so that I'm not doing January, February, and then there, and then, I didn't want to do it that way. So I just did it like that. Anyway, yeah, so I'm very tempted to put this deck as my number one deck this month. Yeah, I think it's a top contender. I just, like, every time I pull out this deck, I just really like the readings, and I like the feeling that I get from the cards. I think this was upside down. Yes, it was. I like the feeling of the cards when I pull them. The colors just, they sit right with me. The imagery works for me. And so I really enjoy the Cosmic Slumber Tarot. So yeah, but anyway, that was for the In Bulk Ritual. I used the Bestiary and the Cosmic Slumber Tarot. Okay, so the next reading I did was actually my Venus in Capricorn season spread. So I used the Green Glyphs Oracle for one of the cards. I'm just going to pull this out. I used the Green Glyphs, put that in the center there. And I also use the Book of Shadows So Below, one of my favorite decks. And I've said that 3 times now, but this one, this is very true. I have said before that this is my second favorite deck. My favorite is the Anna Kay, but this deck is my second favorite, and I just enjoy how practical it is. And this is like my favorite tower card. And then I also used the Green Glyphs, and I felt like both of these are very practical decks, very earthy and practical, and it felt so Capricorn to me. Yeah, so that's why I went with these decks for my Venus in Capricorn spread, which there is a video up on my channel, and if I remember in editing and stuff, I will go ahead and put a card pop up to that video. All right, and here is the page for that. So yeah, all right. One thing I really want to do is make a list of all the decks that I really want to do deep dives of and really do studies of, because I was just thinking that as I was putting away this Green Glyphs here and how awesome the Green Glyphs system is, and how much I really want to do some sort of study for that. But there's so many studies I want to do. There's this one, there's a Marseille study that I want to do. I was just talking about going through that Seed and Sickle deck and kind of coming up with my own consolidated meanings of each of the cards. Yeah, there's so many studies and that I want to do, and there's just not enough time. And I have the other interests, and oh, I didn't put my book in here, but yeah, I really want to do. I need to make a list of things I need to study. All right, so the next reading. This was the new moon in Aquarius, and I actually used my Shadowscapes Tarot for this. I still don't have a bag for this one, but it's coming eventually. Yeah, so I don't use this deck a lot, and I've really been trying to use this deck more and more. It's absolutely stunning. Yeah, it's an absolutely stunning deck, and this is also one of those 2012 decks that I have in my collection. Yeah, I think a lot of people have the same issue that I have with this deck is the cards are actually too small for the images. And I say that, not easily, because I prefer smaller decks because I have such small hands. So I do prefer decks to be on the smaller side. However, this artwork is so incredibly detailed that it's, like cards like this, especially the details just get kind of lost. Like I can really see the details on the camera as I'm looking into the viewer. But if I pulled it off to the side and tried to look at this, it's like, even with my glasses on, which I'm not wearing my glasses right now, by the way, but even with my glasses on, it's really difficult to see a lot of the imagery. And there's something about this that just doesn't quite click for me. And I think it's why, even though I've had this deck since around 2012, I've just never fully connected to it. And the coloring is not my typical, I don't usually go for decks that with such lighter color palettes. Though some colors, some cards have that bright yellow that I like in a lot of decks. Yeah, it's a little muted for me, but the artwork is stunning. It is very, very beautiful. Let's leave it on this one, the Wheel of Fortune, because this is actually a gorgeous Wheel of Fortune card. Woo, jeez. Just like throwing the cards everywhere. So yeah, and I of course used that with the Chinois Oracle, and this was my morning card pull here. All right, so that was that week, or that reading. And I will say I did like this reading. So like I didn't have any issues with this reading. I would say that this deck is not in the running for my favorite deck of the month, but yeah, I did enjoy it. So anyway, this video is already at 31 minutes or so. The next one is my ancestor reading. I've been trying to do an ancestor reading every month, and this was this one, and this spread, it was like the Ancestors of Place and Spirits of Land spread from the Ancestral Tarot by Nancy Hendrickson. And for this one, for the Oracle card in the center, I used the Memento Mori. And for the Tarot deck, I used the Cosmovisions. I always mix up the Cosmovisions and the Prismavisions. And I think it's because the coloring for this one is mostly green, and which is why I went with green for the bag. Whereas the Prismavisions is very blue, and I made a very similar matching bag, but more blue focused. And I think the word Cosma makes me think blue, like because of the night sky. So because of that, I frequently think this one is Cosmovisions, and the other one, or this one is Prismavisions, and the other one is Cosmovisions. But anyway, so, and I also use the Memento Mori deck, and there's a few of the expansions mixed into this one. I think the general expansion and the folk magic expansion are mixed in with the base pack here. Yeah, I actually really loved this reading. So this one, this is huge. Let me do that. Okay, so this reading kind of had you pick a place that some of your ancestors came from, and I did pick Ireland with this one. So I kind of had an ancestor in mind, or a family tree from my family tree in mind, and it was my Kavanagh family, and I went through their line all the way back to the Kavanagh royal family, and which was cool. And by the way, I am a genetic genealogist, so genealogy is one of my passions, and it is a hobby. It's not something I do professionally, but I am a genetic genealogist. I use DNA and family trees to solve family tree mysteries, things like that. So ancestor work is something I really love, but I don't have a consistent ancestor practice. And that's why I'm really trying to do an ancestral reading once a month. So this reading was all about my Kavanagh or Kavanagh family, and going back to the royal line here. And it was a very interesting spread. And I am putting this deck, I think, as, oh, you know what I did? It wasn't just the Cosmovisions, because I used Prismavisions up here. So I did both. I forgot about that. You know, I'm not going to pull that out because I actually, you know, the Cosmovisions is, I think, technically an Oracle deck, but I use it as a because it's got 78 cards and they're associated with the tarot. I do think of it more as a tarot. So I actually put it in the black coloring when I listed the tarot decks I used. I'm going to have to write Prismavisions in there because I totally forgot until I looked at this picture that I actually used the Prismavisions. But I will say, as far as the running for favorite deck of the month, which I only keep to tarot, I think I'm going to put the Cosmovisions in the running here. So anyway, all right, so that was that reading. So before I put those away, I just wanted to show that the matching bags with the decks here. This is the Cosmovisions with its matching bag and the Prismavisions with its matching bag. And since I wasn't going to pull this out, but I totally forgot that I did actually use that deck. So here we are. So here are the decks with their corresponding bags. Okay, really trying to speed this up now. Next one was the first quarter moon in Gemini, and I used the Great Outdoors, the Tarot of the Great Outdoors, which is a brand new deck of mine. And as I said, there is a thing about this. I do have a bag for this, but it's a secret. You can kind of see a little sneak peek of it here in the corner, but there will be a video up in like a week or a week and a half, something like that. But I'll give a little peek. Look, it says Sequoia National Park on here. Woo, I got some patches on it. Anyway, so there's a little sneak peek of that. Yeah, so I absolutely love the concept of this deck. And I'm not going to go into this too much because I just went through this deck. I have a whole video on it and detailing my issues with it. But I'll try to stay a little positive in this one. Just to preface what I don't like, it's the cardstock. It's absolutely terrible, and I curse about it in the like I actually say curse words in that video, so which is not something I really do a lot on this channel. I say it a lot in person, but like I try to keep the curse words to a minimum on this channel. But anyway, but keeping this positive for this video, I absolutely adore the concept of this deck. I really, really do. I love the imagery. The artwork is absolutely stunning. It's right up my alley on the type of artwork I love. It's just beautiful. I am in love with the concept of this deck. This would be a 5-star deck for me if the cardstock was better. But but yeah, I'll try not to go into the negatives of this deck. But yeah, but that said, I also think this one is in the running for my favorite deck of the month, and because I have used this deck more than once. I used it for the first quarter moon in Gemini. And I also used it for the this last week of February and the beginning of March for my nightly reader. So yeah, but I do love it. I love the cards that I pull from it. I love the readings that I get. I really do love this deck. I just hate the cardstock. All right, so the next one, and by the way, each of the moon readings. Each of the moon readings, I have a specific spread that I use for them, and I created these spreads using the Spread Crafters Oracle deck. So I have the new moon, and it's the theme of it is goals, productivity, habits, and I use this setup every single month for each new moon. First quarter moon is all about connections and relationships and love. The full moon is about spirituality, metaphysics, and philosophy. And finally, the third quarter moon is selfhood, introspection, identity. So that's what's going on there. And of course, I also want to show the Venus in Transit page. I show this a lot on those Venus in Transit videos. And this idea for doing spreads for each of the transits of Venus came from Pure Red Velvet. Yeah, so anyway, the next reading, this was my Venus in Aquarius. We actually had 2 Venus transits in February, which is kind of funny because it's such a short month. So for this one, I used the my new Nocturna Oracle, which I did make a bag for. Sneak peek. Yeah, there will be this will be featured on my upcoming bag video. I did make it a little snug. There we go. Got it out. I made it a little snug. So I used the Nocturna Oracle, and I also used the Wild Unknown Tarot. And man, I am having some issues with ribbons today. All right. I think my fingers are really, really cold. Yesterday was 57 degrees and today is like 20 something. So like I'm really, really cold here in my ritual room, which is not insulated. I have a heater going on behind me, but it's not heating my hands. So my hands are actually really cold. So I think that's the issue I'm having with the ribbons today. So this deck is so pretty. I love it. I just did a walkthrough of this on my channel. Put this in the middle here, and I really like it with the Wild Unknown. I think it actually goes very well together. Let me move that out of the way here. So yeah, I did my Venus in Aquarius reading with this, and I went with a different layout for the spread, because before for Capricorn and for Sagittarius, I was using spreads by New Age Hipster, but I did in fact print out an Aquarius tarot spread from New Age Hipster, but I decided to go a different route and instead picked out these readings from, I think it's Moon Mama Oracle. I think it's right there. Moon Mama Oracle. Yes. So this spread is actually specifically Venus in Aquarius. So I went with that route instead. Yeah, I actually really enjoy these two decks together. I think they look lovely. And I mean, there are cards like this that have more color in it, but most of them are completely black that just have an image in the center. And I think it looks just stunning together. And I did very much enjoy the reading that I did. That reading is on my channel. So if you are interested, go ahead and watch it. All right, I'm not going to go through this too much because we're already over 40 minutes in. I will say, though, I do think the Wild Unknown might be in the running for my favorite deck of this month. I really liked the reading that I got from this. And I don't know, because I didn't used to be all that connected to this deck. I've had this for ages. It's not quite a 2012 deck, but I think it was close to then that I got this. And there's no date on when this was like the first release of the mass market. So whenever that was, it was shortly after it came out that I got this deck. But yeah, so, and I've always had trouble connecting with this deck, but I think this month was pretty good. So yeah, I think it's in the running. All right, so the next one is the full moon in Virgo, and so for this one I use the Anima Mundi and the Shinwa Oracle. Of course, I'm not going to pull those cards out, but look at this cool washi tape this stamp washi tape that I got along with the Nocturna Oracle that came in. So yeah, I just, I decorated that with this deck here with the Anima Mundi because, it's by the same creator. But yeah, I thought that looked lovely. And I'm not going to pull out the Anima Mundi because I've already shown it. But I will say that I am definitely going to put this in the running because I love that deck so much. And I did 2 readings with it. So yeah. All right. So the final reading, I don't have the pictures in here yet because I just did this morning. And I used the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. I was trying to think of the name. Now, for the final reading, the closing reading for each month, I started this, of course, last month with the Ganesha reading. But what I did was I took out every oracle card that I got for the moon readings for this month. And so, of course, there's 4 of them. Oh, there's 4 of them. And put each of them down, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically I asked Bridget what was the message she was trying to give me? What message did I need to retain from each of these oracle cards? So let me go back to the spread here. So for the first moon reading, I got the symbol of foundation. Then the second one, I got the symbol of negotiation, the symbol of the mountain, and the symbol of forestry. And there's other keywords going along with those, but that's what I got. And I have the Japanese right here. That's on the cards. And then I pulled a card from this deck, the Forest of Enchantment Tarot, and basically to expand on that oracle reading, and to kind of cement in my brain a message that Bridget was trying to get through with that particular oracle card. So I do love this deck, and this is a deck that I often think of when I think of Bridget, though I only used it for this one reading, the closing reading, actually. I didn't use this deck throughout the month, which surprised me, but it is what it is. I'm not going to put this in the running. It was just the one reading that I did with it, which was this latest one. And I think part of the reason why I was a little disconnected from this particular reading is because I did this reading at a table that was kind of in the middle of our house, and it was around it wasn't lunchtime, but it was early in the morning, but my kids are off from school for spring break, and my husband happened to come out at so the kids were running around asking a bunch of questions. My husband came out to get another cup of coffee. It was a whole thing. So I think I felt just a little disconnected from this reading because I was in essentially a public place. But anyway, so those were all the cards, all the decks that I used in February. So let's figure out what my favorite deck of the month was. So we've narrowed it down to the Cosmic Slumber. Excuse me. The Cosmic Slumber. All right, so Cosmic Slumber. I thought I put it away, but it was hidden. Cosmic Slumber. I also really liked, what was it? Oh, Cosmovisions. So Cosmic Slumber, Cosmovisions. Of course, my Anima Mundi. And I think I'm going to add in the Wild Unknown as my top picks for the month. So I think I'm going to take out the Wild Unknown, even though I was very happy with the reading that I did with it. I'm hoping to further connect with this deck. So I'll take that out. And now it's down to these three. And, ooh, gosh. I think I'm going to take out the Anima Mundi, even though I absolutely adore this deck. And now we're down to the final two. And I know that... So here's the thing. This deck turned out to be my favorite deck of 2023. And I do have the thought in my head, what if this one ends up being my favorite deck in 2024 too? And that could be the case. But I feel like it would be a little boring, but if it's my favorite deck, it's my favorite deck. So it may still happen. And my only issue with this one is that it's kind of technically not a tarot deck, even though it's got 78 cards, and even though they directly correspond to the tarot, it is a tarot deck, okay? But it's also kind of an oracle. So it's kind of in that wishy-washy area. I think I'm going to have to pick the Cosmic Slumber. So, my favorite deck of the month was the Cosmic Slumber Tarot. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in February right here. Cosmic Slumber. All right. So there we go. My favorite deck of the month was the Cosmic Slumber. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I will see you next time. Bye.